Hello everyone, welcome back to the TJOmega channel, and welcome back to Blokees. We are taking a look at their Galaxy Version Series 6 Parallel Universe, which is a set I'm very excited about, because it seems to hit a lot of different directions at once. There's a lot of variety to this set, so it's given me a lot to actually mess around and play with, and I'm actually really looking forward to what we get in this one. I will admit, full disclosure, I've already been building for the YouTube shorts, which means I already know who's in this one. But for the sake of being upfront, for the sake of being on camera about this, yeah, we'll just go ahead and pretend like this is a sealed box. Yes, on the front it is a Stormbringer Optimus Prime from IDW, which is a really cool Prime design, and on the other side, the boy, Autobot Megatron. But let's see here. Who do we have in the assortment this time? We do have a nice little arrangement. We are continuing the Dinobots with Swoop, both in Robot and Beast mode, but we're also getting Wheeljack Kickback to start off our Insecticons, Durge to start up the Coneheads, Sunstreaker, and then Shattered Glass Ratchet. So we're going to continue the Shattered Glass releases in this set, which is actually kind of exciting. And then, yeah, Optimus, Megatron, and then the chase is going to be a blue version of the Stormbringer Optimus Prime, which is kind of a cool little twist on it. I kind of know who this one is already, because, yeah, I needed to open the right one for the short. Just this full disclosure. So I know who's in the bag. And the reason I know who's in the bag is because now Blokees is nice enough to actually include unique instructions for everybody. So we're going to be building Durge today. They all kind of combine the same way, but with this set especially, you have so many more unique characters and so many more unique design elements that I'm actually really happy that they went with this approach. You know, it's actually a far nicer way of doing it. And while, yeah, this is based off of the existing Seeker mold, the fun part here is that it still has some of the improvements that Blokees has been doing recently. Namely, the joints have already been built, so you don't have any of these little fiddly things to assemble on your own. And the nice thing is, if I'm correct, these actually look like new joint elbows and knees, because I don't remember them being flat on one side before. That makes them fit flush to the parts a little bit better and makes them a little bit more stable. Very nice. So, as we did in the previous video, I'm just going to build Durge here, and I'll go ahead and let future me talk about the rest of the wave, and you can just kind of watch this on the side to see how easy it is to actually build a Blokees. So, future me, take it away. Thank you, past me. I think it's only fair we start with the stars of the wave, which obviously means we begin with IDW Optimus Prime. IDW has a lot of really distinct Optimus Prime designs, but the Stormbringer one really does stand out. It is an Optimus Prime who looks like he is geared for war, and they've done a really good job representing it. You can see the heavier look to the chest that no longer has the glass windshields right there. You've got the extra cannons on the forearms, which look really cool. The extra cannons on the shoulders, replacing where, like, normally his silhouette would have the smokestacks. Now they're just giant guns. Alright, fair enough. And just an overall more rugged, more battle-ready, and heavily armed version of Optimus Prime, which is not something you typically see. Power Master, maybe, but beyond that, this is pretty rare to see from Prime, and it's cool to get an actual toy representation of some kind. I like the sculpt here that you can actually tell what he's supposed to transform into. The semblance of his windshield is here, along with the top of the truck mode, and then you can see the tires sculpted into the top as well. It's a really well done job. Inner details are really good too. Like the eyes are sunken in, they're still bright enough to see, as are the lights that are inside the chest. Obviously they don't light up, but you can see them in there. They're separate parts that you build yourself. And little dots of like the gray and the yellow to bring in Optimus Prime's traditional colors into the design. You can see tampograph for the knees to get those details right, and then a lot more tampos and paint to get all the detail on the legs. It's a really good job. Really good job. Even the guns on the forearms has a little bit of extra paint to make the layered look of them come across. If you haven't seen a Blockee before, then you can articulate them very, very well for their size and price. Ball jointed head, so it can move left and right, up and down. Ball joints in the shoulders as well. That's usually you can find a cut in the shoulder to allow a lot more range, which is nice. Ball joints, or actually like swivels at the elbows, as well as a 90-degree bend. A little bit better than 90, actually. And then ball joint in the wrist, so arms have full range of motion. You have waist swivel as well. Universal ball joints in the hips for full range there. You've got the knees that also go just a little bit beyond 90. You have a ball joint in the ankle, so they tilt and rotate. Lots and lots of posability. Really, really cool. Now, a lot of this stuff is optional, so if you don't want the forearms here to have the guns, they are just pegged in, so you can peg them out if you so choose. Also, like all standard Blockees, Optimus Prime comes with 2 sets of hands. One closed fist, one splayed open. That's usually all the hands that Blockees come with, so expect that across the board. And then for Prime, it's not enough that he has a bunch of extra parts, and he's a little bit more of a complex build than Blockees typically are. He also comes with a blast effect that fits right in the tip of his cannon. So if it wasn't look like he was ready for battle before, now he definitely is. Really, really cool to see. Very, very good look. Now, I love the blast effects for these, and we'll demonstrate it later on. But the blast effects are universal. You're going to find a slot on the underside where a standard size blaster barrel is going to fit in there. So most Blockees that have a gun accessory can also use this blast effect. Really, really good attention to detail there. Okay, so now that you have the general idea of what a Blockees is and what you're getting as far as design, articulation, accessories, etc., we're going to move through the rest of the wave much quicker. And that means going to Megatron. I love IDW Megatron. I love the story that he tells. And yeah, and I really, really like the design too. He is a lot more angular, especially in the legs, because IDW really, really like doing that. And you can see, like, they wasted no effort on that chest design. You've got all the nice paint and tampagraphs to get the character across. You got the Autobot symbol sculpted in and painted. Even the little squigglies from the G1 toy. Little squigglies are on the chest, because that is accurate to the design. If we look on the back, we can see his what would be his typical gun barrel, but of course he doesn't turn into that. And then you get a little bit of even extra detail here on the back to show that, yeah, like if he transformed, he would be a tank. But that is not the case here. He does have the arm cannon, which is not typical of IDW Megatron most of the time. Like I said, removable, so it is an optional thing. But if you look for IDW Megatron on Google Image, the first shot that comes up is him stomping forward with an arm cannon, which is him ready to go take it to Tarn. So I understand where this design came from. 3D modelers, can I get like a piece for these Blockees to give me that other thing that attaches to his arm in those comics? No spoilers. Please and thank you. I love this design. I love getting a representation of it because they are very few and far between when we get them. So really, really cool to see. Moving on, we have a shattered glass Ratchet, which I really hope they keep going with the shattered glass stuff. I really wouldn't mind having a collection of them. So far, I believe the only ones we have are Optimus and now Ratchet. Obviously, most of those characters are a repaint away from being out, so fingers crossed. For the meantime, we can talk about Ratchet, who is essentially a repaint from the previous Wave 1 Ratchet. However, let me bring him in, and I will point out that, one, new shoulder sculpt. This is actually leaning far more toward the Generation Select depiction of the character, so like the most recent iteration of Shattered Glass Ratchet. But also, he also has a new facial expression. I can't really zoom in on this camera at the moment, so it's hard to see, but you can definitely tell that there's a different shape to the eyes. They're a lot more open on the new mold, and he's got more of a smirk. He is scheming something, as Shatterglass characters usually do. So I do commend Blokees here. Like, they had no real reason to go out of their way and actually create something like that, like to actually go through the extra effort, because honestly, they really could have just repainted Ratchet. I don't think anyone would have raised an eyebrow, but hey, they didn't. Something I forgot to mention with Megatron, he also came with a blast accessory, purple, but now I actually get to show you that, yeah, if you want, you can clip it into other Blokees toys, which is actually a really, really cool. The barrel size on these accessories are typically universal. So as I said, anyone who carries one of the standard guns will have a shape on it like that that will allow the blast effects to clip in, which is a really good attention to detail. Adds to the play pattern. Swoop. My boy Swoop. Growing up, my favorite Dinobot. Really always loved the look of him. Like that he wasn't a standard Dinobot in coloring. He got to be blue, so he got to stand out a little bit. And I love the flyers. So yeah, did a really, really good job on Swoop. Like, you can see the beast mode feet there at the top of the legs. Tampographs on the thighs, because those have become his beast mode legs. Lots of little details and tampographs in the torso, along with an extra piece that becomes the head, or would become the head of the beast mode. So good to see there. Wings, which are extra hinged. So if you want the wings to not stand out as much, you can fold them back like that and give him like the more toy accurate look. Blokees is actually really good about disassembling to play around with these or to fix any errors, much more like a block toy would be. So if you want, yeah, you can kind of just pop the ends of those wings off and give them more of a toy accurate look if you so choose. But the detail on the wings is just too good. Like the Autobot symbol, the little hits of paint here and there. I want to keep them. I want to keep them looking like that. He gets his rocket launchers too. So you can also take those off and mount them as you please. Really, really cool looking figure. Really happy. We're only one Dinobot away from finishing off the batch. Really, really cool to see. And that brings us to his beast mode. Where, yeah, I thought he would have a lot of the same parts. I think it's only the wings and the cannons that are the same. Otherwise, you are building something completely unique. What I really like about the Dinobots in these sets is that they give you a different build experience than the standard shape Blokees. They actually give you a little bit more to do. They are very clever because they still use that standard torso block, but they're always done in some clever way to include it. It's a really, really neat trick that they go through. But yeah, like, they keep the same details. Like, it looks consistent. It makes it look like this could have transformed from the other Blokees. Really, really fun to build and really fun to display. Swoop comes with two unique things that I really like. The first one being a unique effect part, which, if I could stick into his jaw correctly here. Hang on. So he actually can fire from his beak, which is kind of a cool little thing to include. I like they thought of that. And the other piece includes something that all the Blokees typically come with, which is these stands. They all come with one. They have two pegs to hold onto the figure itself, and they can block together just like that, so they can stand more stable on a shelf, your whole collection. But Swoop comes with something special. They all have this hole, which I've never seen them use before, but Swoop comes with a stem, and then we can use the stem to plug onto his back like so. If we spread out his legs a little bit, that lets you display Swoop in a flying pose, because Pteranodon. Really, really cool to see. I love that little added accessory. Gives you a little bit more to play with. And yeah, and hey, flight stand for future Blokees, or any you already have, which is also a cool thing to have available. Yeah, it's a really neat thought, and really good of Blokees to include. Again, makes them stand out, makes them unique. Like when you're building an entire case of these at once, It's nice to have that, like, oddball in there to kind of break it up. Speaking of, if we're just finishing with the Dinobots, obviously, we need to start in on Insecticons next. So we're starting with Kickback, my personal favorite of the Insecticons. And I really do like how Kickback is rendered. The chest is a separate yellow piece that you build into the torso, so that stands out. And you can see nice little tampografts all across it to bring out some added extra details. Tampografts on the legs, looking really good with a little bit of a painted in metallic sheen. Gun is correct. That's an accurate shape to his G1 gun. Nice to see. The big thing on a Kickback is how you handle the wings, because traditionally they would be coming out of the shoulder, but rather than do that and make it awkward in order to pose or like mount them on this piece of the shoulder, where they would be a static piece and potentially like breakable if this thing fell or got played with too hard, they have opted to ball joint them and connect them to the back. So you actually have some range of motion if you want. You can lower them all the way down if you don't like that look. Or if you're like me and you like that G1 straight up and down display, you can do that as well. Really, really cool touch. Eager to see what they do. Eager to see if after we get the 3 main Insecticons, they extend out to the deluxe Insecticons and we get an entire swarm, which would be cool to see. Also, Kickback comes with an extra. A tiny little shrapnel that you can also build. And the little shrapnel also has, pincers that can open and close. So I guess this means that once you collect all 3 Insecticons, they will each have their own clone that you can pose with them or start swarming your enemies with. If you troop build these specifically, that does mean you're going to have hordes of these guys, which is actually a really cool thought. It's a great little bonus for Blokees to include in that one. Let's get into some 84 Autobots for the collection, and Sunstreaker is now here. We did Bumblebee, so we have room for another yellow and black Autobot. And he's done pretty well, too. I love all of the tampography done in the chest to create the windshield look. It's got that shine to it, but there's still details inside, so you can actually see, like, the dash, like a seat for the driver. It's a really cool little touch. It gives him, like, added depth without actually doing, like, the heavy sculpting or using translucence. And then you get really good paint job in the legs, where inside the inner details tampographed, the front detail tampographed. A lot of really good little design work there to make them stand out and look unique. Shoulder pylons looking good. They limit him a little bit in the articulation, but not too bad. Like, he can still pose pretty good even with those tall shoulders. Really like the head sculpt too. Like, they diminish the ears a little bit, but I kind of like it. Like how spiky and close to the head they are. And then the big thing for his detail is that back piece, which they've done in a nice metallic silver to replicate the chrome of the original parts. Didn't have to do that. Appreciate that they did. It's a really cool look. Yeah, Sunstreaker, nice little addition to the Autobot cast. And again, same articulation, same posability, just overall, just really, really nice figures. Wheeljack. This one we built for the YouTube short, and the Wheeljack is actually kind of surprising, because he's got a lot of added little build to him. So aside from the fact that the tampografts and paint just go nuts on this guy, you can see how many they did to get the legs correct. You can see it on the belly of the inner block. You can see all these windshield details, which is a separate piece that you build into the chest. So it does give it a better layering effect. But you also have, like, all the paint on the ears. So it is a solid blue piece to create the ears on the head, and then they've painted them silver so that the inner details stand out. It's a really nice and clever way of conveying that look. And it's just a really, really pretty Wheeljack. What I like about the Wheeljack design is that they've gone with the cartoon accurate, and it's so common for Wheeljack toys to be done, and they go toy accurate, which relies on a lot more black plastic rather than gray, and it just doesn't look as good. Like, I like Wheeljack in the gray look. That seems more correct, more traditional, at least to me, at least. If you want a little bit more, he does have a separate ball joint stem for the missile, so that is posable. The other toys in the line don't have that. And then he also has his own wings, which are completely posable. They rotate. They're pegged in. So you can remove them easily if you don't like them, or you can pose them in however position you need, just in case they're in the way of anything. So that's a really cool one too. And then we finish off with the guy that we have been building, at least built earlier in the video. That is Durge, and Durge looking really, really cool here. He's obviously leaning way into the Dark Seeker colors. It's a very dark gray, it's a dark blue, and actually does something that they tend to get wrong sometimes on Durge, which is to make his colors too close to Thundercracker. They have avoided that this time. They're very distinct from each other, which is really cool to see. You've got the gold for the wings. You can see these little back panels too. These are ball jointed, so you can also pose these any way you want. And yeah, it's just a really nice Seeker. Now, we've talked about the Seekers in these waves before. They are very, very nice. They have a little bit more build to them thanks to how the wings are designed. But they still have this really cool look to them. And now that we're getting into cone heads, I believe Sunstorm and Acid Storm are also out as well, meaning that you can have a little mini Seeker army. Good to see that the cone heads are going to be coming soon. I presume one a wave like the Dinobots. So just take your bets on Ramjet or Thrust next. And that, my friends, I think is long enough. I'm about out of breath talking about these guys so quickly. But it's a really, really solid wave of figures. I mean, the Dinobot adds some nice variety. We're obviously getting into some other collections. The set itself has a lot of variety and includes a lot of designs we typically do not get, which makes me very, very happy. It's obvious, like, they're going in certain directions that have me excited. I'm looking forward to what characters are going to announce next. And yeah, these continue to just be a really fun little thing to build and keep on the desk for a while. So that is the look at Blokees Galaxy version Wave 6. Let me know in the comments below which one your favorite is, because there's a lot to really like about these. And I'm kind of excited to get even more of these guys in. I'm looking forward to having like a whole army on a shelf at this point. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. I will see you next time.
You've been waiting a long time, haven't you? But the wait's almost over. You're about to meet the brightest star in the universe. We're going to make an impact.